Hello, YouTube viewers. Welcome to my show, Camera Tuesday. Pardon me, Computer Wednesday. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why do people choose Android. Last episode was why iOS. This was why Android. Basically, first you have to understand what the heck it is. Basically, it's an operating system. Now, this is a very crucial aspect. You have to understand nobody built it as a mobile operating system or a computer operating system. It is a full-fledged operating system. Basically, you can run your robot out of this. You can have a car entertainment system out of this. You can have a smart refrigerator out of this. It's a complete open architecture based on proper operating system. So it's not limited to quote-unquote mobile. You can utilize it whatever way you want to. And as things are progressing, in quite soon it will have full-fledged development tools with it. So after that, people might be like, hey, just use Android desktop. Then question becomes, okay, what is the foundation of it? The foundation is like Linux. Linux is the foundation of almost everything. So then when was unveiled to public unveiling was September 23rd 2008. Now there is very interesting story behind it, is that Android was created by two people. Now those two people wanted to make this operating system for cameras. The idea was the camera will have a completely open ecosystem, but they realized very early on that cameras do not sell enough for their vision to be realized. Then they are like, okay, let's go to mobile. Now they started to go into mobile, but nobody took them seriously. During this time, a small firm starting to form, and Google was like, okay, we want something for the future. They bought them, and they started development very early on. However, they made a critical mistake compared to iOS, is that iPhone, when it was released, the first thing they realized is that iOS was solely designed on touchscreen. Everything will have touchscreen controls. However, the Android was still relying on the old feature phone design of having buttons and all that. So the original operating system that was created was like solely relying on buttons. Touchscreen was an add-on, so they had to go back to drawing board, redo everything, and they're like, okay, now it is 100% basically touchscreen based. That's why it was delayed. Either if the iPhone wasn't has been released, it would have been launched like next day compared to an iPhone. But that is why it was delayed, because the core architecture was had to be redone. The whole graphics user interface has to be redone for a touchscreen only device. Then Google took care of the software aspect, and then Google went to partners. Basically, they are hardware manufacturers from Dell to HP to Sony to Samsung. All of them is like, hey, you're gonna make the phone for us, and we're gonna make the software. Now that was the arrangement. The operating system for the phones, and hardware manufacturer will do whatever they want to, and it was free. This is the critical aspect. It was free. They can do the company don't have to pay anything. So Google was expecting that they will make their money back from the Play Store, not from the mobile. So okay, that happened. Then why the heck this convoluted architecture is going on? Because Apple has a very simple architecture. It's Apple has an ecosystem, that's it. Why the heck so much convolution things going around in this Android system? You have to understand, in early years, basically anyone of you who are like around 20 years old, they must be familiar with this kind of feature phones. Like when they were at the rise of their power, they were crazy. Like they were surprisingly crazy. Think of it this way, like every phone had like a company, as in like Nokia had like bare minimum 3 to 4 chargers. Like literally every pin was different, and Samsung had like 2 to 3. Sony I think has only one, but it has like a very fancy fat cable. Then Nokia had like Nokia, Sony, Samsung, Motorola had a different mini B cable, not micro, mini B cable. Every company was doing a random thing, so it was causing too much pollution. European Union was like, hey, you guys have to figure these things out. You can't just pollute the whole planet using that. So during that time, OHA was created, Open Handset Alliance. So a lot of companies, lot of manufacturers, from everybody, I'm talking about the people who make from just the display, to company who make the full phone, to company who make the radio communication infrastructure for the mobile towers and all that. Everybody came together and they started to agree on things. Basically the first thing they agreed on was USB standard. Basically USB will become the de facto charging standard, and nobody can claim USB into like whatever hoo-ha they want. Like nobody can say, Samsung cannot say, oh, my USB is 9 volt, or somebody else can say, hey, my USB is 12 volt. Everybody has to utilize standard USB of 5 volt up to 2 ampere. Like bare minimum your phone should be able to handle that. Again, if you want to do something fancy like speed charging or things of that nature, you will have communication protocol built into that, and that communication protocol also will be free, so multiple charger can talk to each other. Basically, let's say you can buy a Qualcomm charger, I'm saying charger basically that has Qualcomm protocol built into it, or it could have like a standard fast charger built into it. So everything was made open, so every Tom, Dick and Harry can use and manufacture whatever they want to. this really helped it, because I'm old enough to realize, what kind of madness this feature handset had caused. Because you have to understand, whenever we were traveling in, airports and railway stations, they had like this giant box, charger box, and they had like 15 to 20 pins sticking out, and each one was different. For some people Nokia was popular, so they will connect to Nokia. Somebody would have Samsung, whatever. It was like a crazy madness. So Open Handset Alliance started to uniform the basically the hardware market, but software was still crazy. So Nokia application will not work with Sony application and all that. So they also started to create a software. During this time, Google was like, okay, these people are developing an operating system, we're gonna buy that, and Google also entered the OHA Alliance. What Google did was very clever. Google is like, hey, this will be free. That's it. This is free. Take it, do whatever you want to do, and we'll develop the core architecture. You will develop the skin based on whatever application you want to do, whatever kind of mobile you want to make, but we'll take care of the back end. Now, Google started down, and the project started as a competitor to Symbian operating system, which was the largest operating system at that time. You have to understand, this is around 2008. At that time, Symbian was like a king. iOS was not even there. So Symbian was there. HP also had their own operating system. Microsoft was also trying to develop their own mobile system. So as a competitor to all those, they started creating. As Android became more and more popular, every other company like from Microsoft and all that, they simply gave up on their own operating system and jumped into the basically OHA Alliance. At this point in time, Google plus 84 companies are there in that. And I mean, from Qualcomm to Samsung to Sony to every Tom, Dick and Harry you can think of is there in this alliance. So that's the architecture. Basically, there is a Linux kernel at the basic level. Then you have hardware architecture. Then you have native libraries, Android runtimes, Android framework, and applications. So this architecture is now being refined, polished to such a point that the end goal for Android is that Android will only take care of HAL and basically few things. So they can update the mobile phone while it's running, and they can finally take care of that old library issue. Basically, every phone will get update. It won't be an issue. It will become more or less like how we have in desktop. Basically, desktop does not care. Like you can install Windows 9 or 10 on old hardware also. Again, it will be slow and sluggish, but it will work. So they want to do the same for Android system. So you won't be have like, hey, I have an old phone which is powerful at that time, but still does not get an update. They will just directly slot in a new system. So this is the architecture. So Open Handset Alliance saved a lot of things. Basically, it made our planet alive. Otherwise, the amount of e-pollution that was saved by this was ginormous. Okay, then that's for the company aspect, that's for the government aspect. What does it translate for us, you and me? Basically, the first thing anybody thinks of when they think of Android is cheap. Now again, it's a good or bad, because you have to understand, iPhone has a luxurious item to it, like mine is bigger. Here it does not have that, even though practically speaking, you can buy Android as cheap as you want or as expensive as you want, because you can go right now and buy basically Hawaii phone, and it is $2,500. At this point in time, there is nothing in I department that it comes even close to that. Or you can buy Samsung Galaxy Fold. Delivery issue might be a key issue right now, but you have to understand, like there is a lot of money investment that you can do in Android if you want to show off that I have money. So there is a very large range. You can go ludicrously expensive, and these is these you may say gimmick, but there are other aspects also. There are companies that make custom handset, and I mean like custom PCB to like custom things and all that, which they make specific Android phone which are like security encrypted, basically used by government agents and all that, and those are like very hard to crack. Not impossible, but like if iPhone cracks in let's say 10 to 30 hours of supercomputer cracking, this will take 80 to 90 hours, and generally it will roast its own microprocessor and memory system, so nobody can hack it. So you have to understand, like there are certain luxury items like that. There are people who make rugged phones that are very expensive, like $2,000, $3,000 mobile phones, but benefit, it makes Nokia look like a weak phone. You can guess that. Like there is a lot of range into that in terms of pocket wise, and something for everyone, because you have to understand, let's say you are an Indian like me, and you got your first paycheck, and 4G is becoming a thing. If somebody says, hey, spend 60,000 rupees, a lot of money, onto a mobile phone, like is this worth it? Well, I do not know because I haven't used it. So I will buy something cheap, something like this Samsung M30, which is around 15,000, and be like, okay, let me use this, let me learn it. Like if it's okay, cool, awesome. If it's not, I'm either gonna not buy another smartphone, or maybe I buy a more expensive one. So there is something for everyone, not only for the high rollers. You have to understand, iPhone flat out. If you want to kill iPhone sales, just remove the contract issues. Basically, the fact that you have to buy a 2-year contract to get iPhone, remove that and see. Flat out, just do that and then see how many people can buy iPhone. Flat out, it's too expensive. So in this scenario, there is no such things. Cost is like very long range. Like you are working in construction site, buy a cat mobile phone. You are working in security department, buy a custom chip systems where they rewrite the ROM itself to make sure that it's very hard to crack. And you want to something just cheap and dandy, you can have something like this. Again, it's only available in few countries. You will not buy this in USA. So cost wise, very long range. Then we come to the final aspect, the personalization. Think of it this way: in iPhone's device, good point is that it's very well supported. Basically, you can buy a 5 generation back iPhone and still would be able to run the latest things into it. Here, we don't have that luxury yet because Google is working on it, but right now it hasn't materialized, let's say. However, in terms of personalization, this puppy is on a grand different level. To give you a context of that, Apple was so serious in lockdown. Basically, you could not install your own ringtones. Like, of course, they had a basic library, but you cannot install different ringtones. Like Apple, literally, a touchscreen phone had a limitation like this devices. But Android, everything could be changed, everything could be controlled as you want it. Basically, to give you a simple idea, this is a very interesting phone for me because it has AMOLED at 50,000 rupees, which is a very little amount of money. So I wanted something that can show off that AMOLED screen. So I have this polar clock running in the background and I made the background fully black. Try doing that on iPhone. Like it's very difficult. Like you can't have this in Android, like where you have icons and then something running on the background. You can't have that because Apple decides what you have to do. In here, you decide what you want to do. Hey, I just only want few icons there. Awesome. That's up to you. That is very seriously useful for everyone who knows what they are doing. Like if you don't want to deal with the things, I can understand why iPhone would be so enticing. But if you know what you're doing, if you're like, hey, I need this app and I want to disable everything else, you can do that. So it's up to you what you want. On top of that, there are tailor-made experiences. Now this is something unique to Android. Flat out, Apple cannot compete with it. Apple is like one device fits all. Here it's tailor-made. To give you a context of that, there is this small smartphone market right now. It is bursting with because there are many people who are burnt out with social media, and the way they get into social media is by mobile phones. So they are like, these mobile phones are becoming popular because they are A, cheap, B, they are designed in such a way that it's not fun to use. So you won't be addicted to it. Like, yeah, it's very hard to type. You'll just see WhatsApp message and that, like, it is like a very slow way to slowly fade off your social addiction. Or you might be like, hey, I want to take a photo of textures. Like, let's say you are a 3D game artist and you're like, hey, I want texture photos. Like, that's my deal. You can buy Nokia PureView and have the greatest camera like in terms of resolution output there. And I don't mean resolution in terms of megapixel. I mean in resolved resolution, as in like how much detail you can see. It's quite amazing. Or you may be like, hey, I'm all into mobile gaming. Hey, buy Razer phone. It goes up to 120 hertz. Basically, everybody is like, every Tom, Dick and Harry is like, whoa, 90 hertz display in OnePlus 5, OnePlus 6. This is 120, and you might be like, hey, this is good, but I want something even better. I want controllers and all that. Awesome. Buy basically Republic of Gamer from Asus. Again, bit more expensive, but you can get that. Like, it has the same core as this, but it comes with enough modules that you can connect controllers on side. You can have charger block going somewhere else. Like, up to you what you want. Basically, there is no one size fits all. Like, do you want a camera phone? Buy Samsung, buy Nokia PureView or a Google Pixel. You want something very small, buy some Chinese manufacturer that makes you want something luxury piece that shows off that you have more than enough money, buy Samsung Fold. Or you want to do gaming seriously while you are on the go, use this. You want to do gaming but you don't want to carry controllers, do this. That's the whole point. Like, it's completely tailor-made, and every vendor, that is like from Sony to Samsung to HTC, whatever is there left, they create their own USP. To give you a context of that, right now Sony is the only company that can give you full 4K HDR support in a mobile phone, and it's a true 4K. It's not like some awkward resolution. No, true 4K. That's available on Sony flat out right now. You can buy that. Then you are coming to other things aspect, like let's say folding display is a big thing. Samsung can give you that. or like there are many companies like Motorola is still doing some interesting things, and there are other companies that are like making sure their phone is nothing fancy about that. It's just it has a very good digital to audio digital to analog converter, so you will get very good quality sound out of that. So there are many boutique companies also that are doing things. So you have to understand personalization, it is completely custom to you. There are 240 million basically iPhone devices in the market, but here's the deal, all of them look the same. Here everything looks differently. Again, you may say that hey, it's all a big black box, but again, it is different. It is literally different, from folding phones to tiny phones to big phones to controller phones that look like from a cheap ripoff of transformer to like really hard black box. Whatever want you, like it's up to you. The personalization is on a god tier. You cannot compete compare this to anything else out there in the market. Like iPhone does not even come close. So this was my presentation about like why people choose Android. Next video would be Android versus iPhones. I hope you liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click the like button. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I would urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me your extra disappointment, and please leave a comment because I reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.